At the Accra Region Police Headquarters after 12 of their colleagues were arrested by armed policemen at the Law Court complex.
Their arrest is illegal and they must be released. So that's why we are here, for them to be released. Not until they are released, we are not also living here.
We're actually going to live with them, yes. Since there's no charge, they cannot be held any longer. It's an unlawful arrest.
We have the details as the Accra High Court dismisses the injunction application by the Ghana Police Service, which was seeking to halt their street protest.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story, as always, brought to you by Gasem Cement. The Nation Builder is also brought to you by Vodafone. Together, we can. The Fix the Country campaigners of tonight pitched camp at the Accra Region Police Headquarters, demanding the release of 12 of their colleagues. And in the last few minutes, we're learning that they may just have been granted their wish. And of course, Lexus wanted to take the wind out of my sail. And we're learning that Theodore and the others who were picked up, in fact, have been granted bail. We'll bring you more on that development shortly. They were whisked away by the armed policemen earlier in the day at the Law Court complex. They had gone to support their colleagues in waiting for the outcome of a case filed by the Ghana Police Service, which was seeking to restrain a street protest they intended to embark on. While the court was hearing the legal arguments, some of the protesters pitched camp along the road in front of the court. They chanted, "We will protest," while holding placards with hashtags such as Fix the Country.
Because of COVID-19, they are not going to allow us. Where was COVID-19 during election time? Where was COVID-19 when we organizing with John a year? Where was COVID-19? So now we should do the right thing in this nation. We should come back. You know, imagine whenever they tell me. We will still protest. We will still protest. We will still protest. You will still fight that right on this nation. We will still protest. We will still protest.
Well, there are several moving parts to this story tonight, including the bail that just been granted, the police decision to hold the 12. What have they been charged with? Can the protests go ahead tomorrow if the protesters wish so? A lot of moving parts. Let's start tonight from the court, shall we? My colleague Joseph was in court for us. Also, my colleague Parker was at the police headquarters for us. All of these is covered. Joseph, how did this all unfold, especially at the courts? The court had a ruling to give today.
Yes, it was a ruling on an objection that had been raised by the protesters. They are taking the view that under the Public Order Act, if anyone disagrees with a decision of a citizen to stage a protest, it should be the police service that should be taking a matter to court. And so they had raised issues about the involvement of the Attorney General's office and the Attorney General for that matter. The court ruled by dismissing that particular objection by stating that the Attorney General under Article 88 of the Constitution is responsible for the initiation and defense of all criminal and civil matters involving the Republic, and so was the appropriate person to handle this particular matter. And so that was the ruling that came in initially. That was the first thing that was dealt with.
Okay, so that is significant. I mean, this was the case has been, part of it went to the Supreme Court, correct?
That had to do with the injunction that was granted earlier.
Okay.
And so when that was disposed of, then they returned to deal with this particular application for injunction, at which case they objected to the fact that the AG had intervened. And so
as it stands now, they have the all clear to proceed and protest?
The directive is that it has to be done in accordance with law. And so the point is that they have to now go through the process of writing to the police, because the decision that the court dealt with about the injunction. And so that is when the AG now made the argument that the restrictions, the COVID-19 restrictions, are still in force. And so the individuals cannot be allowed to stage a political gathering. And he says this particular protest is a political gathering because in the earlier notice to the police, they had explained that they are demonstrating to demand fulfillment of outstanding promises by successive governments. And so he says that cannot be anything but a political event. But the response that the protesters, their lawyers, gave in court was to indicate that the protest that they want to injunct, it was supposed to take place on May 9. And May 9 has elapsed already. And so as it stands now, there is no date that they have indicated they want to protest to say that they should be injuncted from going ahead with the protest. And that is the position that the judge agreed with, that the application was moot, in that it was supposed to restrain a May 9 protest which has since elapsed. And so she noted that if you want to go ahead and protest, then mind you, go in accordance with the procedure that is provided for you.
It raises all manner of very interesting questions. So if they file this notice to the police and they give the day's notice, can police also go back to the court and use the same reason of COVID to try and stop it? And this doesn't mean that this whole cycle probably
commences again.
I mean, we'll get to a lawyer.
But the interesting bit is, in the course of the court hearing the legal arguments, something interesting happened outside the court. And so it was actually while the lawyers for the protesters was on his feet arguing, when I got wind that there was something happening outside the court.
Is it that's the arrest of the 12?
That the arrest of the 12. And
Was the noise audible in the courtroom?
No.
Okay.
In fact, the arrest happened after those who were in the courtroom had even finished and come out. And so what happened was, the arguments were ongoing. We went out. We met some individuals who were outside with the placards. We heard some of them a short while ago. They finished. Then the court indicated I was going to deliver its ruling at 1:30 p.m. And so those who were in the courtroom, some of the protesters came out to join their colleagues who were already outside with the placards. So they came in and they were taking photographs. It was at that point that a police vehicle just entered the court premises and started directing that they should get into the car. 12 of them, and drove away with them to the Accra region.
Describe it. What exactly were they doing? Were they a public nuisance? Were they taking photos? Were they shouting? Just so that we can have a mental
Initially, when
picture.
I came out of the courtroom in the course of the arguments, some of them were across the road, so they had even moved out of the court premises. Some were also at the front. They held placards. They were just standing there quietly. But what tends to happen, like we see with a lot of such engagements, is that when the cameras approached, they speak to the cameras. So that is how come we hear the sounds that we hear them singing and chanting that we will demonstrate, we will protest, the country needs to be fixed, among other things that they said. But at the time that the arrest was effected, they had finished with that particular action that they were engaged in, and they had actually gathered and were taking photographs when the police team arrived at the premises. In fact, it's worth noting that even at the court premises, there were already police people there, but they were not bothered about what the guys were doing there. It was a team that came from the Accra region that arrived and picked up 12 of the individuals and took them away to them.
So it was after this that the court resumed and then delivered
and delivered a ruling that said that the application for injunction was moot.
Okay, yeah, Parker, you were at the police headquarters where they were taking. What happened?
Right, so to add up to what Blair was saying, the protesters or the conveners had insisted that they were taking photographs and that they were not actually there to protest or demonstrate. And again, the explanation they gave was that the court had gone on recess and they were waiting for the verdict or the judgment on the injunction. So that was when some of them came out to have photographs and the police came in to arrest them. So at the police station, per my interaction with some of them, we were told that they were in the police grips for 3 hours, a little over 3 hours. Now, they asked them to write their statement and also question them on why they were protesting at the court. But they clearly indicated that they were not protesting at the court. Now, whilst we were there, some of their lawyers, but a group of 4 lawyers came to the police station to now meet with the head of legal at the Accra region and also the crime officer. In fact, they were in a meeting for close to over an hour. And it was after the meeting, that was when we got the information that they have been granted bail. But the interesting part of this is that, Evans, we do not know what the charges are, because even the protesters themselves are surprised and shocked that at the end of the day, they were not told why they were arrested, even though they had clearly written their statement to the police. So that is what happened at the police headquarters. In fact, to again add to what Blaise said about the police presence at the court, my sources at the police, Accra Region Police, tells me that they rather received the call from the court security that there were a group of individuals who had gathered at the court and that was why they actually drove all the way from the Accra region police to the court to quickly arrest them.
You spoke to some of them.
Well, I spoke to Ifeodor. She was one of the conveners.
Ifeodor is who?
Ifeodor, she's part of the conveners, and so she said she was a celebrity. In fact, she tells me she's the reason the police arrested them, because when she came out, a lot of people wanted to take photographs with her. So during the process was when the police apprehended or arrested her.
And then the judge called for a recess. We should come back by 1:30 to get a final verdict. So as I came outside, obviously a lot of the conveners were outside to support, and they wanted to take pictures because obviously I'm a public figure, and then they want to show their support. So a few were holding placards, and I guess a whole commotion was going on, and then all of a sudden we see the police. They come with their guns as if we're criminals, and they just aggressively pulled us in, and then that was it.
So you were just taking pictures with the people
I
who
was
had
just taking
gathered
pictures with the conveners, yes, after, because we were waiting for the verdict. So we went on recess. They said we should come back by 1:30, and then so as I was outside with the conveners taking pictures, that's when the police came, and then they aggressively took us in.
Was there anything the police said before arresting you?
No.
They just picked you up?
They say, hey, you come. That's it. They didn't say anything. They were very aggressive, very vulgar. Even in the van, one of the police said, you should fix the country, but you should fix yourself. I was quiet. I wanted to remain calm. I didn't want to have any kind of, back and forth going on. So I just remained calm. They didn't say anything, so just picked us up.
So you've been interrogated for quite some few hours now. How many hours? What really happened when you were with the police?
Well, basically, we were inside for about, you can say roughly, it's been like about 3 hours now. They never told us the reasons for our arrest. Nothing. We're just there. They told us to write a statement, and I complied. I wrote my statement. Exactly what I'm telling you now is what I wrote, and that's basically it. So we waited for our lawyers to come. Before we were going to wait for our lawyers to come, but one of the chief officers said that we should write a statement because time will call. So yeah, intro statement, they can even have us detained. Okay. So it's best we write a statement, and then we're here now.
So now you've been granted bail.
We've been granted bail.
How do you feel now?
I mean,
disappointed?
I'm disappointed that we can't exercise our freedom. Why should it be a problem? Why should we even be going to court for people, citizens that want to demonstrate? Why this shouldn't have happened in the first place? The case has been thrown out, and it will keep being thrown out because it's the second time the case has been thrown out. So I'm really disappointed in our system. That it's just a disappointment.
I want to go onto the phone lines now. I want to talk to one of the conveners for Fix the Country. Ni Ayi joins us on the telephone. Hello, Ni.
Yes, hello.
Nice to talk to you, Ni. Also joining us is private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu. Hello, Martin.
Yeah, hi, Evan.
Great to have you on. Ni, so I'm pretty sure you were at the police, Central Police station where your colleagues were held. Have you been told exactly why they were arrested? I mean, when somebody's arrested, you have to be read their Miranda rights. Were they told why they were arrested?
No, up to now, we actually don't know why they were picked up. There has not been any official charges that have been laid against them, even though we had to bail them, but we don't know which charge we're bailing them from. But up to now, it's not clear what the charge is. Suffice
to say that they've all been let go now. They've all been let go now, right?
Yes. But then the police insist they have to report back on Monday to sign some documents. I don't know what they're talking about, but our lawyers are handling that too, so it shouldn't be much of a problem.
Is that the only condition attached to the bill?
Say again?
Is that the only condition attached to the bill?
To the best of my knowledge, that's what was agreed on, that they had to come back on Monday to sign some papers, and that was supposed to be it.
I mean,
but there has not been any official declaration of what the charges are or why they were picked up in the first place.
To the substantive issue, you scored a significant victory against the police and the state and the Attorney General today.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you are back on the streets as soon as possible?
So yes, previously the Supreme Court had held that it was a constitutional right to embark on the demonstration. The only condition in there was that we had to notify the police, and the operational word there is to notify. And notification it does not in any way suggest seeking permission or approval. Indeed, the High Court today maintained the same position, the same stance, that it was a constitutional right to embark on such demonstrations, and it was not up to the police to decide whether to allow us to proceed or not. Indeed, the High Court threw out the police application to secure an injunction against the protest, and as it stands, there's actually nothing preventing us from going on with that demonstration. So we would like to get back to the drawing board to reconvene and to decide the way forward.
Let me bring in lawyer Martin. Martin, so on the back of this verdict, must they write again to the police to notify them as specified under the Public Order Act?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is no doubt about that. Because the previous one, that the previous notice has expired. So they have to do it, that's for 5 days before the event, as required by the Public Order Act.
Now, my curiosity there is, if they do that, can the police also again say, well, we can't allow you because, or, I mean, of course, the police cannot say they can't allow them without the court, but they can indicate that because of COVID, we think this shouldn't happen, and then go back to court. Does that mean that our whole process can play out again?
That is a problem. Yes. So what you're saying is, theoretically, that's what may happen. That is to say, when they notify the police may think of it as an excuse, then the process starts again. So today, coincidentally, I was in that court while they were arguing, okay, so I was hoping that question was going to get answered. But the reason it couldn't be answered is that they conveniently themselves look, the date is past. So the intended demonstration is moot. And the judge has held the submission. I really was hoping that it was good that should they do it going forward now that the first date is passed. But as I said, it's their case, the way they argue and won.
Martin, forgive me. We're having a challenge with the line. You're making some very important clarifications that we need. We're going to call you back on the better line so we can have that conversation. But Nee is still with me on the line. Hello, Nee. So I guess the what I heard Martin say clearly before it became difficult to hear him for the rest of the time was that you definitely will have to write back to the police to notify the police, and the police can again use a COVID excuse to say you can't go. What's your reaction to that?
The Public Order Act says we have to notify the police anytime we are about to embark on such an exercise. So indeed, yes, we would have to follow the protocol. But I don't see, because this issue has been decided on the very same key points of COVID, especially. So I don't see how this can replay out in court when there's already been a decision. Unless the facts of the matter are going to be different, which in this case would not be. So yes, we would have to notify the police, but since we already have a ruling to determine the validity of our cause or our right to go on the demonstration, I don't see how this can play out again. I really don't see it.
I mean, thankfully, Martin is back, hopefully on a better line. Martin, you were explaining that this whole process that just played out can begin again, and the police can use the same excuses, and that you are hoping that the court this will be clarified today in the ruling.
Yes, but yes. So what it says is that, as me informed you, they argue that the intended demonstration is moot, that it's no longer live, it's dead, and the court has held. But if they argue that they want to go on the demonstration, notwithstanding the imposition of restrictions, then the judge would have ruled on that. So this means, I respectfully disagree with you. The question before the court was not whether they can go on the intended demonstration, notwithstanding the imposition of restrictions. That wasn't the question. What they argued today was that wanted to embark on is moot. The date is long past, so they don't intend to go on new demonstration. And that was what the judge answered. He said, it means that if they are going to go again, when they issue the notice, then this time the issue of whether they can go on demonstration, irrespective of the existence of the executive instrument on COVID, will come up for decision.
So importantly, the grounds for the police's objections to the protest have not been dismissed or ruled on by the court. Whether they are valid grounds or not hasn't been dealt with.
That is my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a legal opinion there.
Yeah, but well, yeah, but then I think he's speaking about today's ruling in the High Court. But then I am making reference to a court case that was decided in the Supreme Court that happened, I think, a week or two ago over the same issue. So when this thing came up, we had proceeded to the Supreme Court for a determination on our constitutional right to demonstrate, even especially within the current circumstances, being the COVID issues and all that. And we've already secured a judgment or ruling from the Supreme Court. However, I agree with the lawyer with what he's saying today, with what happened in the High Court. But that was only because the police had dragged us into the High Court concerning the injunction they had tried to secure against us. But the constitutional provision for our right to demonstrate, we are taking that all the way to the Supreme Court for determination, and that was granted in our favor. So I see where he's coming from, but yes, concerning today's ruling in court. But as to the constitutional provisions for us going forward, I really would like to see how this plays out, though.
Okay, so I mean, but what is certain from your end is that you certainly be that the protest is something you definitely intend to still embark on.
Could you say again? Your line is not too clear.
Okay, I'm asking just for clarity that it's definite that you'll definitely be seeking to embark on this protest. This protest is definitely on the board to happen.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
No decision has been taken when you plan to kick in the process.
No, right now, we just had this issue in court today, so we'd have to go back. We, the conveners, would have to go back and then re-strategize and then decide on when it will be best to embark on this exercise.
Okay, thank you very much. But Martin, let me come back to you because on the back of what has happened today, I mean, again, this Public Order Act, the right to protest, is still a very live issue, still being contested in court. From what you've experienced today, there are still clear issues there, even with the expression and enjoyment of that right, is there not?
I tell you, Evans, it's such a serious matter. I was pained. I actually felt it. Why should we be doing this very good round? Because the Supreme Court decision in NCC versus IGP is clear that you don't need a permit, okay? Just certification. And yet this certification in substance is just working out as a permit would do. So really, I think that I would support their intended action that they will go back to the Supreme Court, because remember that the decision was given on a serious act. Then after that decision, the NCC versus IGP saying that you don't need a permit, then the government in power at the time came up with this new Public Order Act. So I remember Professor Patija wrote an article and showed the problems that is caused. So perhaps it's about time for somebody to take this matter back. Because, and doubting recently with the arrest of the conveners and other people. So, don't forget to small matter, as you say now, because I was outside at the time the police came to arrest. They were just taking selfies and other pictures at the entrance to the court. They weren't causing much of the problem. This was something like that, I think, where in the democratic aspect should have just warned them that, look, despair, move out from this place. Okay? So what the police came in was nothing embarrassing. It's just like, let's say, after a football match, people are vigilant and are executing and crossing the road. Can you arrest all those people or even funeral, that kind of thing? It looks very slight. It was just a barbarian. We used too much resources than what was required in the circumstances of the case. I think a warning to them to be fair, to move out of the entrance, to have been more appropriate. That to have just brought the vehicles and hauled them in, it was just an overkill. It was really an overkill. I think there's not emphasized if the ICC will stand. So I think the commander will do that with the exercise discretion process. Not everything that you have to arrest. They are all citizens. You see, you didn't even have investigation of how I was standing there. Just for them to keep selfies. They wearing like, how do you know? That's about some 10 minutes. I mean, I was on the other end of the room. And they just the silence and all that and took them to get one. And then they took them out. At that point, out and the house kind of that I intended me to appease them. I didn't really have energy, but not much energy.
Martin, thank you. Terrible line there. It's unfortunate, a shame they're making such a great point about the circumstances surrounding which the protesters were arrested today. Subsequently, we know they've been granted bail. But there's a lot more, obviously, down the line that this is not the last we've heard of this, as you've heard from the Fix the Country campaigners. Well, Ghana Connect is coming up in 2 minutes. The question is simple. Is the love back? If you're wondering what I'm talking about football. We're talking about that here on Ghana Connect in 2 minutes. I'm sure you've been shouting phobia and fabulous. But let's put in the bigger context of things. Does that mean that your love for Ghana football, the Black Stars, and everything else that we lost years back, for which reason this new GFA administration came on board with this tagline, bring the love back? This is a sign, is the surest sign yet that they've achieved their aim? We're discussing that next on Ghana Connect.